Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Music Den. Do not adjust your monitors, do not adjust your screens in any shape, form, or fashion. You are not seeing things. This is a very special Halloween themed episode of the Music Den. I am, of course, your host, Armando Venditti, although I don't look it right now. I am joined by Mr. Bill Schuster. How's it going, Bill?
Oh, greetings.
Yeah, dress the part. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone nuts. We've lost all of our senses, and we're just going to have some fun here today. This is a Halloween themed episode, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be discussing two films, and as you can tell from those background, one of the films is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. He has his copy. I have my copy here. Here we go. I had to rebuy this copy because I lost the copy that Bill had there. Well, it's in the house. I just don't know where the hell it is. So that is the first film we are going to be discussing. The second film we will be discussing is The Little Shop of Horrors. There we go. Nice cover. We are going to be discussing each film, the storylines, the music, and give you our views as to which one we like the best. This is a two-part episode. This is our first episode. Second episode is coming up after, so the makeup is going to still be on. We're not that quick with the makeup to put it on and take it off, so bear with us. So I will hand this over to Mr. Bill Schuster, and you can discuss about what he feels about Rocky Horror and his history with the movie.
Thank you, Armando. All right. Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'd like to give a quick thank you to my old friend and housemate, Roger Adams, who I haven't seen in decades, but he's the one back approximately 1989 that introduced me to the joys of the Rocky Horror soundtrack. And then after took me to see a couple of showings at a theater in St. Louis, Missouri around that time, where, of course, it was performed live as the movie was playing, as is the Rocky Horror tradition in the
Mm-hmm.
midnight showings. And of course, going in as a virgin, that was quite an experience. I lucked out. I didn't get dragged up on stage or anything, but that was definitely a memorable thing. I haven't been back to do that since, and I really need to. We have done a couple of local live. Well, we did one local live performance. Both of these T-shirts that are hanging up here behind me came from those local theater
Cool.
productions of the show,
Cool.
and they
Cool.
did a great job. That was a lot of fun. Stacy and I took our daughter Olivia to the show, and Olivia was robbed out of the first place costume prize. I'm just going to say that and leave it there. But we had fun.
Mhm.
We danced in the aisles and played along. It was a blast. So yeah, Rocky Horror is fun. It's meant to be fun, but I will say it also has a very dark edge to it.
Yes, it
And
does.
I found a pretty cool article earlier today that gave me a different perspective on it. Uh,
You don't say.
yes, it was on a site called Hub Pages by someone called Rose Dean. So I want to give Rose Dean credit for this idea about
Okay.
how it's traditionally this movie is viewed as being about decadence and hedonism and just giving yourself over to absolute pleasure. But some people may know or may not know that, say, the original ending was changed. There are multiple versions. Some of those versions had the song Superheroes in it. Some cut that song out, but that's a very important song to the story. And the general idea that Rose Dean had pointed out was it puts a twist on the whole idea of the movie. How it it gives the idea that all this decadence, all this giving yourself over to absolute pleasure comes to nothing, comes to emptiness, has no meaning to it. If you listen to the lyrics to Superheroes, and it
Mhm.
puts a very dark twist on the movie itself, which is one of the reasons it was changed, because apparently in the initial showings the movie was thought to be too dark and the audience didn't much care for the ending,
Mhm.
which coincidentally is also something that happened to our other movie we'll be discussing, Little Shop of Horrors. So,
Yes.
but we'll get back to that. Musically, all right, I've done things with this where I would try to go from the beginning of the soundtrack in my own head, singing along without the music playing, to see how far I could get remembering the lyrics to all the songs in order.
Mhm.
I'm not near as good as I used to be on that, but that gives you an idea of how many times I might have listened to the soundtrack over the last few decades. Not many albums I could do that with.
Yeah. Of course.
Uh, I think are we wanting to do we want to strictly do Rocky discussion now, or do we want to start comparing the two along the way?
We can do rocket discussion, and then we can do little shop of horror discussion, and then compare the two.
Okay. All right. We have basically a great cast. The music, of course, is by Richard O'Brien.
Yes.
He gets all the songwriting credits there, and he did an amazing job.
Mhm.
Uh, but the cast brought this to life. Tim Curry. What can you say about Tim Curry that hasn't already been said? The man is legendary for a reason, not just for this role, but for many other iconic roles.
Mhm.
Uh, but this is still probably going to be the role that will forever define his career.
Yes, I would
And
definitely
I,
agree.
I think possibly much to their dismay, the same could be said of Susan Sarandon and Brad Bostwick. I mean, Susan obviously has gone on to a major award-winning movie career that's lasted decades,
Mhm.
but still, everybody comes back to Janet Weiss. That's who
Mhm.
Susan Sarandon's most famous role will always probably be, and she seems to be okay with that, which I think is kind of cool. She
Mhm.
doesn't run away from that. Uh,
Yeah, I would agree.
I think all the actors in general, from what I've seen, they seem to have generally taken a certain amount of pride in their part here,
Yeah.
which is cool because a lot of times you get things like this, these cult classics. Sometimes the players try to hide and run away from it. Say, "Oh no, that was when I was younger. We're embarrassed by that."
Mhm.
I'm glad that's not apparently the case with this movie.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
Uh, the soundtrack we go one of the cool things about this and Little Shop is that these are songs done by the cast. It's
Yes. Yes.
and these are probably my all-time two favorite original cast movie soundtracks.
Okay.
So, uh, the Time Warp. I can't tell you how many times I've fallen on the floor. Not in recent times, because well, last time I fell down, I hurt my ribs, so I'm not falling anymore
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
can.
Yeah. You could
But
barely get up the last time you fell. So,
yeah, but back in the early days of discovering this, I used to be involved in a group where we had dances regularly, and there was a definite crew of us that hit the floor as soon as the Time Warp was played, and we all did all the moves that we were supposed to do: jump to the left and step to the right, and pelvic thrust, and all the above. And of course, yes, we all fell down to the floor after. Now, if
mhm.
I did that, I'd have to have help getting up. So
Exactly.
I won't be falling to the floor in this video, folks.
Thank God. Okay. That's good.
Um, I think a lot of the things that I thought about this movie and this soundtrack also apply to Little Shop. I found a lot of similarities, a lot of comparisons here,
Mhm.
which I don't know that I'd noticed before that I found interesting.
Okay.
Um, so I don't know how much I can separate the two and just strictly talk about Rocky, because a lot of the things that I'm thinking of also apply to Little Shop of Horrors.
Okay. Go with it. Go with it.
All right. I have put on the glasses here. Break the
Mhm.
illusion. Oh, that's quite sophisticated. Yes,
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
go with that look. Yeah.
Yeah. Combination of Tim Curry and B. Arthur. Go on. Go on.
Oh, just call
And
me
then,
Maud. That's it.
and then there's Broad. Okay, go on.
I don't have any Golden Girls props back here.
It's fine. It's fine. We're at that age where we're both Golden Girls. Almost, Okay.
All right. Some of the common themes I've noticed between Rocky and Little Shop is, well, they both poke fun at the post World War II, pre Vietnam, idealized straight white suburban nuclear family American myth.
Yeah.
You have Brad and Janet, of course, in Rocky,
Mhm.
and then you have Seymour and Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors that both play these. Well, maybe Audrey has a dark side, but she doesn't necessarily want to. I'll put it that way.
Mhm.
Generally, these are she dreams of being what Brad and Janet appear to be.
Yeah, but she's attracted to the dark side, like the
Yes,
rebel.
and as it turns out, that's a common theme between Brad and Janet and Seymour and Audrey,
Mhm.
is that they're supposed to be these more innocent characters, and they generally start out that way, but they become corrupted along the way. And they
Yeah.
become corrupted, each of them, by a seductive alien offering promises that
That's
turns
right.
out to be a villain. In Brad and Janet's case, of course, it's Frankenfurter. And in Audrey and Seymour's case, it's Audrey 2.
Yeah, a plant of all things.
That's Audrey 2. I'd like to thank my son Neil for this prop, which he just got me a couple of weeks ago,
There you
not
go.
even knowing we were going to be doing this. So say hello to
There you
Audrey
go.
2.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you for watching the channel too, Neil.
Um, I'd mentioned earlier that both films changed their original endings for being too sad. Uh, I just got, this director's cut copy last week, and this is the first time I've actually watched the director's cut.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, folks, if you have only seen the theatrical version, uh, the director's cut is radically different. It does not have a remotely happy ending unless you're a big fan of Audrey 2 and all of her spores, so to speak.
Exactly. Exactly.
Uh,
I've seen the director's cut as well.
yeah, the director's cut is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And again, just like with Rocky Horror, Frank Oz, the director, famous for taking part in the Muppets, folks, among other things.
Mhm.
Uh, Obviously, Muppet folks obviously have the dark side as well. So Frank Oz went with what was the original ending on the play that was based on Roger Corman's original Little Shop of Horrors movie from the 60s. It's a
Okay.
convoluted story, but yeah, the
Okay.
play had the dark ending, and Frank went with that. He wanted that ending. The test audiences loved it, apparently, all the way up until the ending. They loved all the songs, they were clapping. When all the darkness happened at the end and all the tragedy happened, the audience apparently turned cold and hated it and gave them a 13 rating. Apparently, you have to have over 50 to even get a movie released. And so, after trying one more time with a test audience and getting the same result, Frank reluctantly redid the ending to something happier. And yeah,
More, yeah, happy-go-lucky kind of, yeah, more of
yeah,
an upbeat, yeah,
yeah, the more traditional Hollywood style ending.
yeah.
Um, Let's see. Each of the movies has a cameo appearance by a leather-clad bad boy on a motorcycle, played by
Exactly.
someone who was also famous outside of the movie. Eddie, played by Meatloaf in Rocky, and of course, a certain dentist played by Steve Martin in Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes.
Uh, Warren, that dentist, is well, as Audrey too might say, some folks deserve to die.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the moral judge here,
Yeah. Oh, I know. I know.
but well, Seymour obviously was convinced.
Weird, Miss
Oh,
Seymour. Yeah, okay.
uh,
Just a quick note. It's got to be said. Levi Stubbs, who did the voice of um, Audrey 2, did an amazing job.
yes.
Um, with his performance. I laughed my ass off watching, just to hear his voice coming out of the plant. It's like, oh my god, it was great. It was great. Go on. Sorry,
Oh,
that's
yeah. And Levi Stubbs, for those who don't know,
lead singer of the
was
Four Tops.
yes. So who would have ever expected Tim to be in that role? And one of the songs he sang was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Original Song. It didn't
Yeah,
win, but it was apparently noted for being the first nominee in that category that ever had profanity in the lyrics.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
even if it didn't win, it has its little footnote in history.
Well, there you go. There you go. Being nominated was enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, yeah, at the time, based on my recollection, Levi playing Audrey 2 got a lot of the attention.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's what drew people to the movie
yeah.
to an extent. Yeah.
But yeah, at this point in time, though, I mean, at the time when I originally got into this movie, I saw it when it came out, uh, and I've owned the soundtrack. Well, I've owned both these soundtracks on in multiple formats. I could
Hmm.
find the set somewhere if I were to look. But
Hmm.
I was originally drawn to those songs with Levi Stubbs and Steve Martin in the song "Dentist," which I was singing in the shower getting ready earlier, actually, while the soundtrack was playing.
Hmm.
Um, but now the songs that resonate with me most on Little Shop of Horror soundtrack are specifically the ones involving Ellen Green.
Hmm.
Ellen Green had an advantage over the other cast members in that she had actually been playing the role for a long time in the play.
So she knew it inside and out. Yeah.
Yeah, she is that character. That's her character. So that's no one else could have truly done that. Apparently, they thought about trying to get Cyndi Lauper and Barbara Streisand, and thankfully that didn't work out. Nothing against those two; they've both done great stuff that I love. But Ellen is Audrey.
Hmm. Very
Yeah.
much so. Very much so.
So when she sings "Somewhere That's Green," that's one of those songs. It's like she's, as I was alluding to earlier, she's trying to get to what Brad and Janet in Rocky were heading for when they were getting engaged and what their likely future was going to be, that
Hmm.
suburban straight white, post nuclear couple and their 2.5 kids and their dog and the picket fence and everything. Somewhere That's Green has those lyrics that on the surface are kind of ridiculous. It is poking fun at that myth, but the way Ellen delivers it, my God, she gets me every time.
Hmm.
I can't, I get teared up every time I hear her sing that song, just because it's, even though it's such this over the top cheesy old fashioned dream, she inhabits that character so much for me.
Hmm.
She makes it real. It's this,
Yeah.
her longing to escape from her life on Skid Row and
Yeah.
her abusive boyfriend or in the dentist. Yeah, kudos to Ellen Green. That's
Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to just add in, I think that if you had Cyndi Lauper or Barbara Streisand, sorry, doing that part, It wouldn't be the same.
No.
It would be Barbara Streisand. You know what I mean? Like her name, her stature would overtake the character. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? If that makes any sense to you, you know, she's one of those actresses, Streisand performance that just quickly, it's very difficult for her, in my eyes, to envelop a character. It's always Streisand doing something. Do you know what I mean? Doing a character. You can't separate. You can separate the two. It's not like she can inhabit a character and make it her own as an actress. I'm sorry to say, but I mean, it wouldn't be the same if Streisand had done Ellen Green's part at all. It would take away from it, personally. But
I think you're absolutely right. I think she would have not only overshadowed the part, I think she would have overshadowed the entire movie. It
yeah,
would have become a Streisand movie. Yeah, I
yeah,
think you're
yeah,
spot on there.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's good. It's I think I've already derailed this by going into the comparison mode and bouncing back and forth. So
It's
yeah.
fine. It's
If
fine. I'll get
anything, yeah, I'm the one that threw our game off here. So
no, no problem. No problem. No problem. I'm just getting used to seeing you in the lace there.
with the granny glasses now, that really makes a whole different
There you go. B.
character
Arthur would
here.
be proud. As he takes a sip. Go on.
Yeah, I had to have the straw. I had to ask my wife after she did my makeup if it was safe to drink through a straw because
Yeah,
anything else I figured would mess up the lips. So
I know, I know. I'm dying for a coffee right now, but I dare not use a straw because my black lipstick would come off there, ladies and gentlemen. So it's not good. So I have to suffer for my art.
it happens.
Do continue, my
Um,
dear boy. Do continue.
right. Basically, I think of Ellen Green as she is to Little Shop of Horrors what Tim Curry is to Rocky.
Yeah,
And I thought about this whole fantasy scenario. I thought about how cool it would have been back in the 80s when they were both in their prime and before Tim started having his health issues and everything. How cool would it have been to have them team up in something, whether something musical, a movie, anything at all? Just
yeah.
that, I think that could have been legendary. Uh, so, someone out there who does fan fiction, I need you to write up a script involving Frankenfurter and Audrey. And
Get
can you
on
imagine?
that.
You could take these two movies and interchange. Imagine Seymour and Audrey appearing at Frankenfurter's castle that night instead of Brad and Janet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How
Mm-hmm.
would that have gone? I mean, she's already been corrupted a bit, even though she didn't necessarily want to be, or
Yeah,
did she? But
yeah.
imagine Tim Curry seducing Rick Moranis.
I'd rather not. But I mean, I mean, sorry, Barry Bostwick. It would be never mind. We won't go there. But
Not Rick. Sorry, Rick.
you know,
I tried to make you a sex symbol, Rick, but it didn't
it
work.
it would be like Fred Flintstone seducing Barney Rubble. I mean, it wouldn't work. You know what I mean?
I have no doubt there probably is. If you search hard enough, you could find that.
Oh, I'm sure there is, but we won't go there. This is a
No,
family
I'm not going
show.
to search for that. I'll bet it's there.
Oh my God, do I look eerie when I smile? Yeah, sorry. I look like the fly trap. Go on.
All right, let's see here. Now that I've gone all over the map, uh,
There we go.
try to get back to the actual songs
Okay,
here.
I'll bring it home. I'll bring it home when we do it. When I do my part. Don't worry about
All
it.
right, let's see. Dun, 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 dun. I'm trying to look at the trying to read the small print on this, which is not necessarily easy. There we go. The CD is easier to read. The small print on the back of this. Good luck.
Yeah, I
Maybe
know. I know.
I guess I could take. I got the just for the fun for the folks at home. Here's the
Yeah, the highlights album of originally released on Ode Records, ladies and gentlemen, ODE Records, in 1975.
Let's see here. All right. All right. This, I think for 1975, how forward thinking was this movie? How flat out ballsy was this movie to just come out with all these concepts? I mean, transsexual transvestite or a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. I mean, now people will quibble with the terms, and that's cool. I get that. But for 1975, and really, you go back to the play, 1973, this is some pretty radical stuff in this movie here. Uh, I mean, this is like for that time, this is borderline pornography.
Yeah, it did push the envelope in terms of, well, I mean, and for this kind of a genre, like a musical, it did push the envelope way beyond what people were expecting.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
I think it's cool that one of the great things about this is that even if you don't go take part in the culture at the theaters or anything, there's always a place for misfits and underdogs in the whole Rocky Horror culture. Basically, it
Mhm.
gives people permission to not fit in with the status quo, to just have fun and let go. And
I would agree.
yeah, and I think that's pretty awesome.
I
A
would agree.
home for misfits with each other, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, to a degree, it's kind of been co-opted, like a lot of old school nerd culture that I've been into for years. Like Lord of the Rings and superhero comics and everything else that
Yeah.
more mainstream culture has kind of adopted as well,
Hmm.
whether they were ever nerds or misfits or not. So there are pros and cons to that, I suppose. That's a whole different discussion. But
Yeah. Yeah.
obviously, this movie and this soundtrack are vastly more successful than they were on that initial theatrical run. It seemed like a failure at the time, and I think everybody probably knows the basic story how it became,
Yeah.
the midnight movie cult classic that people started going to.
Hmm.
There have been others since then that have followed in its wake, but this is the original. This is the one that started that whole idea,
Yeah.
and that's pretty special, actually. Uh, I really need to get back to the theater, and yeah, it's been too long.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. I mean, this concept, I mean, just to give you a bit of a background, not to cut you off, but to give you a bit of a background, it would start out as a play in the West End in London. And then the idea came to turn it into a movie, and it was, you know, um, it was given the green light to go ahead by 20th Century Fox, and the in their eyes, they were just making a little movie to see where it was going to go, and they never knew that it was going to be such a big hit. I mean, I'll let you. And my one note of fact that I looked up, because I watched this movie Friday night with Bob, and because I knew we were doing the show, and Bob asked me, like, how much money is this movie made? And I looked it up on Wikipedia. It was a budget of 1.4 million. And the box office up to date has is quoted at $227 million.
Nice.
You know, so the take home on it in terms of the box office has just been massive, and for a storyline and for a show, like a movie with a storyline that is so far out of the box in terms of what is acceptable, that is a major achievement. That is just massive, you know.
Yeah.
But Yeah, no, I'm sorry, but I wanted to give that little blurb as to, yeah. So
No need to apologize. I think we're just kind of going back and forth at this point. It's a little
yeah,
free
yeah,
exchange.
I think the idea for the show just got blown up. So I'm okay.
That happens here. That's
It's we go with the
blowed
flow.
up like my hair.
There we go. There we go. Um, so I mean, I'll give you if you're done. Are you done or?
Oh, I think like I say, we can just keep going back and forth. I'm sure I'll have more to say here as we go along, but I'm curious to see
Well,
from you.
I mean, my first go around with Rocky Horror. I mean, I remember watching a news journalism show, a music journalism show called The New Music back in like '79, and the New Music was featured starting in Toronto, and it was aired all over the world, like in England and all over the world, basically. And one of the episodes that they featured, they had a they featured Tim Curry, and at this point he had released the track "I Do the Rock." It was a single he did, like a novelty rock song kind of thing he did, and they did like a flashback to him in Rocky Horror. And they did that scene where he's coming down in the elevator as Frankenfurter, like his introduction in the movie. And I'm watching this as like a 9-year-old watching this, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And it scared the shit out of me because I mean, like I had no idea what this was all about, but I watched it for the first time, start to finish, when I was 24, 1994. It was Halloween week of 1994, and I still could not make heads nor tails of it. I mean, I knew of, Sweet Transvestite and the Time Warp and all that, but I never knew of any of the other stuff, and I could not make heads or tails of it. It wasn't until I moved here. Bob moved in with Bob, and he loves the movie, and we started watching it on a regular basis. I got into it like head over heels. I just fell into it big time. And I think as a story, I think it works on all levels. I think you literally have to take yourself out of yourself and just put yourself in uh another way of thinking, just like a frame of reference in terms of what is going on in the movie. I mean, it is about these two suburban white bread, characters who, are about to get married, and they live the straight and narrow, and they are introduced to a whole new world, a whole new realm, a whole new possibility of what could be for them, right? And if you look at the movie, um, it's it's Brad that wants to sort of go into that realm more. Do you know what I mean? It's because when Janet catches the bouquet at the beginning of the film, there's and he's thinking, maybe it's my turn to get married. Well, he's thinking, you could tell there's a close up, and he's thinking, do I do this or not? He's doubting whether or not he should do this. He's got doubts, right? It's all subtext, right? And when he's given this opportunity to go ahead, like to try something different, she wants to leave the castle, but he wants to stay, right? And explore this, right? Explore this new possibility, this new idea, this new normal, what's considered normal. I think it blows the parameters of what normal is in terms of life, right? And it's also a test. Can you be seduced into this new realm? And once you are, Are you going to enjoy it? Are you going to regret it? You know, and are you going to survive it? That's the main thing out of the whole thing, right? Because I mean, at the end of the movie, when they leave the castle, they're running out, right? They're carrying Dr. Scott out, and the castle takes off, right? The ship takes off to go back to transsexual. Do they survive at the end, right? Like, because they all pass out. Do they survive? Do they die? You really don't know, right? Um, so I think that as an idea for a story, it works. I think it's just introducing the audience to, what if there is something else out there that you could coexist with, or that you could move into in terms of a life. You know what I mean? There is such a thing as, there is something else out there besides the, wife and the 2.5 kids and the white picket fence and the mortgage and the home. There is this sort of other way of living and being. You know what I mean? The music for me, just to get on to the music for a second, is fantastic. I mean, Richard O'Brien for this movie to me was a genius. It's melodic, it's catchy, it's memorable, it's rocking. Um, it runs the gamut. It is um it is what Jim Steinman did with Bad Out of Hell 2 years before Bad Out of Hell happened. You know what I mean? And coincidentally, Bad Out of Hell at this point was being written in 1975, right? It wasn't recorded until 1977. But I think that overall this movie, Rocky Horror Picture Show, works on all levels, um, on every level. I mean, production wise and cinematography, the costumes, the campness of it. I recently, my nephew was visiting here. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are normal human beings. We do not dress like this every day. I have a nephew that lives in Toronto that came to visit me and Bob, and we are very responsible human beings, adults. And he came, and his girlfriend, who is in the arts, like she's a makeup designer and costume designer. Sorry, Joyce. We played this for him, the movie, and she and I are bopping along watching it, and he's just watching it, like, And afterwards, we asked him what he thought about it. He's like, "Oh, this, it was shot bad. The cuts are bad. The edits are bad. I don't understand what's going on." I'm like, are you kidding me here? Out of everything you saw, you're noticing like the smallest details, right? Like you're not looking at the bigger picture, right? To me, this movie is about, again, taking yourself out of yourself and just exploring what could possibly be out there for you, right? The term normal is relative, and that's what this movie does. It introduces the idea of what if there is something different out there? What if there's an alternative to what you're doing now, to the way you're living now? Do you want to explore it or not? There are no right or wrong answers, is what the movie's trying to say. It's just introducing you to another form of reality, and I think it does so brilliantly. I think the only person to play to play Dr. Frankenfurter is Tim Curry. I mean, he did this movie when he was 27. It's unfortunate that at some point in his career he wanted to divorce himself from this character, because he has said in interviews, "I am not Dr. Frankenfurter. I am not that person. I am not that character. I am much more than that. So he tried to sort of play down his role in the movie and sort of divorce himself from the whole thing because he wanted to have a career in, as an actor, as a singer, if he could. But I think that he played it with such vibrance and such enthusiasm and such reality, that nobody could take fill his shoes.
Uh,
You know, I mean, he explodes on the screen. He just explodes. Would he be my ideal partner? No, no, I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. I'm sorry. I mean, you know what? No, no, no. Too flamboyant for my taste. I'm sorry, I could not do it. But he does the character with such flair and such charisma that whenever every scene he's in, he envelops it. Like there's your eyes are drawn to him right away because of the makeup and the persona and just the way he is on screen. The the supporting cast: Richard O'Brien, Patricia Quinn, Little Nell, Barry Bostwick, you know, um, Susan Sarandon. I mean, Meatloaf, who, when they did the play, he originally did the part of Dr. Scott, but he originally didn't want to do Dr. Scott because he had to wear the stockings. He was very homophobic about that.
I
He
did
did
not know
not.
that.
He did not want to do it, but he's like, well, no, no, no effing way I'm going to do that. It's a part. It's theater. It's pretend. You know what I mean? But I think that this cast was put together perfectly with an exact purpose, and it works beyond measure. Um, do I feel that they overdo it with, like, okay, the 45th anniversary edition, the 43rd and a half, anniversary edition of the movie? I do believe that it's overplayed in terms of the advertisement of it, but um, I think that once you're hooked, you're hooked. I mean, and the soundtrack that you have in the background, Bob has had that soundtrack on vinyl for years. I bought the remastered version. I believe it was in 2015, 2015, with the additional tracks. There's one track I forget that Barry Bostwick sings, and the other track is Superheroes, which is featured in the UK version of the movie, not the US version of the movie. The Blu-ray that I have, I think yours has it too. Um,
The 35th anniversary is this one. I have a
yeah,
DVD and whatnot over here too, and a
yeah.
VHS. And
This version has the US version and the UK version. For if you want to watch it. Yeah,
this does also
yeah. So I personally prefer the UK version.
with superheroes.
Yes, I
Yes,
I think that
absolutely.
I think that because in the US version, they leave the house, they leave the castle, they're running for their lives because Riff Raff has told them to leave, because they're going to beam the house up. So they're running out, and they basically run out the door, and you just see them on the floor, on the ground, and they basically just collapse, and then the story's over. When they leave the house in the UK version, the house gets beamed up. They sing Superheroes comes on, and then they all collapse. Right. So it's like it's just a very minor cut where they take out Superheroes. But I think Superheroes adds more context to the film as a piece. So I think that they should have kept it in for the US version. Sorry, guys, 20th Century Fox, you screwed up. But I
Big
mean,
time.
you know what I mean?
Superheroes is it's a great song.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's fantastic. I think that Tim Curry's vocal performance in this movie is sublime. I think it's flawless. I think the only way to play any part in this movie is to forget what you're not comfortable with and just go for it. Just throw caution to the fucking wind and just go into it and not worry about it. If you can't tell by now, ladies and gentlemen, I love this movie. Okay. In comparison to Little Shop of Horrors, I like the concept of the film. I've spent less time with it, but I have watched the movie 3 times. I like the three singers that sort of like keep the story moving, like the Tishina Arnold and Tisha
Michelle
Campbell.
Weeks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tisha Campbell and
Ronette, Crystal, and Chiffon are the
yes,
characters,
Rana Crystal and Chiffon.
which is
Yes,
awesome.
I mean, I've always loved Tishina Arnold and Tisha Campbell. I've always loved them as actresses. I mean, they give attitude where there is no attitude. They just add just a bit more, like a push where there should be. I think I love the 1960s feel of it in terms of the music, the doo-wop feel of it. I like Ellen Green's character. I like the fact that she's trying to find her piece of heaven, her piece of utopia, or her piece of normality, whatever you want to call it. Whether or not does she find it, that's you know um, at that point when you're watching it in the beginning, it's all up for speculation as to whether or not she's going to find her or not. Rick Moranis as the nerd, as Seymour. I mean, come on. I mean, yeah, he's another
Good
one.
typecasting.
Yeah. He's another one that eats the scenery when he's in the film, right? Um, to use Levi Stubbs as the character, as the voice for Audrey 2. Come on. I mean, like, there's no other person that could have done that voice, and the way they do it, like with the attitude and the swagger, even in the way they even in the way they do the voice, it's just amazing. Steve Martin as Oren, as the sadistic dentist. I mean, he makes that movie, even though it's a small, like 5 minute, 3.5 minute section of the film. He makes that movie. I mean, come on. I mean, and I like the fact that Bill Murray comes in, you know, and Steve Martin as a sadistic dentist is met his match. It's like, he's pulling out his teeth, he's twisting his tongue, he's like, give me more, give me more. Oh, yes, doctor. Yes, yes. Oh, yeah. It's like he practically had an orgasm in the bloody chair, And then Steve Martin thinks, shit, I'm not getting anywhere with him. I'm not, he's not in pain. And then kicks him out. So he moves on to another victim.
Now that, all right, I want to get your take on that. So, all right, when I rewatched this, when I watched the director's cut a few days ago, I actually had forgotten about Bill Murray's
Yeah.
cameo in there. He is brilliant. I hurt my ribs, so laughing was still painful. Bill Murray brought me pain, even though I've seen that countless times previously over the years. But those two in that scene where they were together, they play off each other so well. And I'd swear that Steve Martin was having difficulty not laughing at Bill Murray's performance.
It could very well be. It could very well be. Yeah. No, I hear where you're coming from. And as a character, I mean, Oren is met his match.
Yeah.
Um, for me, just to end, in terms of the comparisons, the ending of Little Shop of Horrors for me, the director's cut, was a little disturbing. I thought that, in the end, Seymour would come through and good would triumph over evil, but you know what? Sometimes it doesn't. And that's what it introduces to you. Do I like the fact that the plants took over the world? No, I'm not, but in keeping with the
Oh,
way.
listen, Audrey, it's okay.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. But I mean, in keeping with what, how the play was, then if that's how the play ended, that's fine. If I was to compare Rocky Horror Picture Show to Little Shop of Horrors, I would pick Rocky Horror every time. I
You're
just,
talking soundtrack and the movie.
yes, I think
Okay.
that if you compare the two, I think that Rocky Horror is just an entity all unto itself. I think that it is. I mean, they did a remake of it quite a few years ago. I don't think it worked. I think it paled in comparison to the original. Um, I went to and I gotta tell you, I went to my first screening of Rocky Horror in 2018 at a place called the Garneau Theater here in Edmonton, and it was the first time I saw it on the screen, on the movie screen. And yes, I went dressed up, you know. Um,
Who'd you dress as? Just
my I did not go as any character from the film.
okay.
Um, I should say, ladies and gentlemen, no, I went like this. I went as a zombie, kind of like a ghoul kind of effect. I'll send you the pictures. But I should say too that Bob tried to go as Dr. Frankenfurter. He could not fit into the costume.
I know
Time
that
has
feeling.
time has not been kind, on a certain level to Bob, but I shall go no further than that. But I
Right
saw it
there with
in,
you, Bob.
there you go. And I saw it in the theater, and it is an experience. You immerse yourself into the movie, and it is a fantastic experience. For me, this movie will win out in terms of musicals, in terms of the macabre, and in terms of just doing something that's different and trying something new. So that is my take on both films.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, just to my curiosity, have you seen the theatrical ending of Little Shop of Horrors?
Not the theatrical one. No, I don't believe so.
Okay, because that it is well, all right. Anybody that's watching this has probably already seen both, so I don't think we're too worried about spoilers here. The
Okay.
theatrical ending, uh, they do survive. Audrey 2 does not, and they do get their happy ending and their little picket fence and their little house in the suburbs. But there is a
Okay.
little or a little question mark at the end because as they pull away from showing them in their happy ending, there is a little Audrey 2 in their garden smiling at the camera, and then we
Okay.
so
Okay. So is this the ending? Is it not? Is this the
yeah.
happy ending? Is it not? That's, who's to know, right? So, no, that's good. That's good. That's good.
So yeah, that puts a whole different spin on that. Yeah, that director's cut that is extremely tragic on multiple levels.
Yes,
I'm
it
not sure
is.
what I think about it yet after having only seen that version once. I'm so used to the other version.
Yeah.
So
No. No. Yeah. No. I'm watching it, and I was watching the Little Shop director's cut, and I'm thinking, okay. It just something about it did not sit right with me. I just did not. I don't know why, but I mean,
when Audrey asked him to feed her to Audrey 2, so she could literally be somewhere that's green, I was
that threw me.
that one threw me. I knew she died because I'd read about it before, but that part that was a detail I was not aware of that she literally sacrificed herself to Audrey 2, so a part of her would always be with Seymour.
Exactly. Exactly. That part kind of
Yeah,
got me. But
that poor person was Audrey was she had some damage.
I
A
would
lot
say
more
so.
than Janet.
I would agree. I would agree. I would agree. I think though that I think I would with just to finish off with Rocky Horror. I think that both the character of Brad and Janet wanted to sort of break away from what was expected of them. I think that they just needed permission to do so.
Needed a
Uh,
push.
they needed a push and they needed permission. And what better to do it than a bisexual transvestite from another planet, right? There
Transylvania.
you go.
Ah,
There you go.
yeah.
You do it better than Bob does. So, anyways, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There is our. Well, I was going to ask you. I should ask you in terms of movies, in terms of comparisons, or one over the other. Which do you prefer in terms of? Do you like them equally, or does one edge out the other?
It's extremely close. I mean, obviously, I have more Rocky related items, and I'm dressed as Frankenfurter. Well, it would be more difficult for me to pull off one of the characters in Little Shop of Horrors. Excuse me.
Yeah,
Well, this wig doesn't fit any of those characters, which made my decision to go with Frankie.
there you
But
go. There you go.
and just for the record, I used to have a cat named Frankie because that was when I was still living with my friend Roger that introduced me because we did not know, we could not figure out whether Frankie was male or female.
Oh my
So
God.
we
Okay.
called the cat Frankie.
Okay. Very
So there you
ambiguous.
go,
Okay.
for what it's worth.
There you go.
Um, I initially probably would have said Rocky. That was my thought going in because I do have a bit. I have probably played the soundtrack for this movie more than Little Shop of Horrors, and I've seen the movie more than I've seen
Mhm.
Little Shop of Horrors. Eh, on an emotional level, I don't know. They both have different things. I mean, where Tim sings "I'm Going Home," the floor show, and all that, that whole evolution of his character there, and his destruction, you feel the sympathy for him there. His makeup running, the tears. He does a great job there to bring it home emotionally. But still, Ellen Green, Ellen Green, wow. I don't know. This really is almost a toss up at this point. She has moved me so much on this with her part in this, and not just Somewhere That's Green, but also Suddenly Seymour and Skid Row downtown. That everybody there wanting to escape.
Yeah.
And as you had mentioned, Crystal Ronette and Chiffon, I had wanted to say more about them earlier, and I didn't. They are the glue that holds that movie and that soundtrack together. They're the framework. They're
They're the ones that keep it. They're the mortar between the bricks kind of thing to keep
yes,
it all together. And they got
the
attitude galore. I love it.
yes they
I
do.
love it.
They're
Swagger
more than
and
just.
attitude.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say they've got swagger and attitude like you would not bloody believe. And I love every single second of it. Um, I think that if they were not in the film, they would lose something in the translation. So
Yeah, I
so
mean,
go
just
ahead.
beyond their singing, their the swagger and attitude, the part of their acting. Their acting is great. They inhabit those characters so well.
Beautifully.
Yes, they're like they're the conscience, the narrators of Skid Row and everything that's happening. They're everywhere. They're almost like angels, devils, whatever. I don't know. They're
Yeah. They're
something out of a Greek tragedy. They're
yeah, they are the conscience of that story. The three of them, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah. So props to them. Amazing job, ladies. Outstanding work. I know they I don't think they got near enough credit because, well, obviously Ellen Green got a lot of attention, and of course Steve Martin and Levi Stubbs. Those three probably got the lion's share of the attention.
yeah,
Little Shop of Horrors.
yeah.
All right. I don't know. I'm gonna call it a draw. I just
That's
they
fair.
even though
That's
I've done
fair.
the comparison and found these different cool things, and even some that I've probably forgotten already that these movies have in common that I thought was pretty cool. They each give me something different, also something very different, and
Yeah,
I like that about them. Even though they're so much alike, they're also radically different in other ways. So
that's fair. That's fair.
yeah, I have a little playlist that I made a while back that starts out with one soundtrack and goes directly into the other soundtrack, and I can just put that on repeat and listen to one after the other, and it works. So yeah, I'm calling it a draw, but they're both perfect. There's a reason I said these are my two favorite soundtracks, and I'd say that uh, not just original cast, like original song and vocal soundtracks, any soundtracks. I mean,
Hmm.
see you later, John Williams or anybody else. Any
I
of the
know. I know.
these two
Um,
are
yeah,
masterpieces.
yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, especially with the Rocky Horror one. I just think that it's melodic, it's catchy, it's hooky, it's just um infectious is the word that when you listen to it, you just sort of get wrapped up in it. And so yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. So there you have it, guys. Our opinions on both the Rocky Horror Picture Show and the Little Shop of Horrors. So in the comments below, please let us know what you think of these movies and these soundtracks. And there are no right or wrong answers. Um, but yeah, I mean, Bill and I talked about doing this episode and Halloween themed, and it was kind of decided at the last minute that we were going to get dressed up for it. So hopefully you guys enjoy the show. We will be back soon in a few minutes with another video. So I want to thank Mr. Bill Schuster for
Sorry, I just wanted to insert these guys that were part of the background.
there
This
you
is not
go.
so much a musical movie, but there's a monster right there to go along with Rocky himself. So
There you go. There you go. Um I want to thank Mr. Bill Schuster for for coming in on this video and for dressing the part. And we will be back very soon with another video. Bye for now.